Right, I want to come back to the ambulance crisis in Victoria that was highlighted in the recent damning report from the Inspector General for Emergency Management. And you know the report was damning because it kept the Premier out of the media cycle, and he's a media tart, for 3 days in the hope it would go away. Well, it hasn't gone away. Despite funding shortfalls identified in the Inspector General's report, there's been 33 Victorians that have lost their lives. We learned today that Ambulance Victoria has spent nearly $1 million employing so-called diversity and inclusion officers on salaries of close to $170,000 a year. Now, surely the ambulance service needs more people to answer the bloody phone, more than it needs diversity officers. But not in Victoria, it seems, because hiring these bureaucrats was in response, it's reported, to a human rights report attacking a so-called toxic culture that forced paramedics to be, among other things, and I'll quote, confident and stoic. Now, isn't confident and stoic exactly the sort of qualities we want to see in our ambos or anyone in a job that deals with emergencies and chaos, rather than someone who goes to water? Apparently not, though, it seems, in the woke state of Victoria, where under Daniel Andrews, stoic and confident is a harmful gender stereotype. Now, under pressure, the Andrews government says it's possible to change workplace culture and save lives at the same time. Only that's not what it's doing. Its focus is always politically correct tokenism rather than actually getting things done. In his bombshell report, the Inspector General found that funding issues with ambulance dispatch had been first identified more than 10 years ago, but still haven't been fixed.
The bottom line is, if this system had been fixed 10 years ago, when arguably it should have been, would Esther have coped with the pandemic better than it did?
Well, it would have coped with it better than it did, there's no doubt, and I think that's probably the best way to put it. There's no way that I could say or anyone else could say that it would have actually not had any of the problems it's had, but It would have been in a far better position to respond to this massive influx of calls than it was in this last couple of years. That's absolutely right.
Yet still the Premier insists it's all COVID's fault, not his, despite the fact he's been Premier for 8 of those 10 years. You can't make this stuff up. This is a state government that's brilliant at politics but hopeless at government. And the astounding thing is, despite this and the 800 dead from botched hotel quarantine, he's still odds-on favourite to be re-elected come November.